everyone. You're very welcome. I thought I'd talk a little bit about drums and drumming, what the drum means to me. I'm going to turn this off now because one does not really go with the other. So thank you very much for joining me here, and for Fiona for inviting me along to talk about drums. I've had quite an incredible and an interesting journey with drums since a very young age. All very different journeys, but all very much connected. So I thought I'd share that. So I'm not going to go into anything in great depth. I'm going to kind of give an overall kind of a feel to it as to where I am with drums and how they've affected me over the years since a young child. I put it into kind of three phases. Like my very first phase would have been, obviously very traditionally speaking, my uncle Christy gave me my first drum and I was about 10, 11 years of age. And Christy's also a hand playing drum. He plays it just with the hand. A lot of people in these days, sadly, because the tradition of hand playing is almost dead in Ireland now, it's all stick playing, which came into Ireland in the 1960s. Before the 1960s, it would have been mostly hand playing. Anyway, I'll just breeze over certain subjects. If you want to engage me with them in a later time, please feel free to get on the message with me and we can talk further on it. This particular drum is one that I had from a very young age, from the age of about 14, made by a County Galway drum maker called Michael Venables. And it's quite an old drum. This is an old beast of a drum. I resurrected it because I've had it, as I said, since I was a teenager. I found it up my father's attic when I was visiting home, probably in my mid-30s, no, late 20s maybe, and brought it back here to me with me, and it had a little bit of an injury on it, so I got that fixed up, and it's been my go-to drum really for quite some time, I can tell you. So that's just to give you a quick sound of what that's like. So I grew up in a very traditional area. This is just one that I got from my girls when they were kids. This is my other very traditional Irish drum. I call this the hairy Charlie Byrne. Charlie Byrne is the guy who made this. He was a traditional bodhrán maker, very well known in the 60s and the 70s and into the 80s. His drums are very well sought after now. He's no longer with us, he's passed on to the other side, but he's left us a lot of drums, and there are a lot of drums now that have probably been up in the attic. This particular one was up in the attic for many years, and I purchased this about 5 or 6 years ago. It's an absolute beautiful instrument. As I said, it's called the hairy drum because the hair is still on it. These sort of drums for me, they resonate very, very deeply. I feel the traditional energy coming from them. I feel the epoch, the time, the era. I feel the maker's hands. I feel the ancient energy. This stuff goes very, very deep within me, and it's very hard to explain what it is, as a lot of these things are, as you well know. But that's how I feel. So yes, so moving along, this and there's another bodhrán. This one I use a lot to play with when I'm in a drum circle, and there's a lot of other drums, and a lot of them tend to be African drums, and them African drums, they have a lot of boom going on. My traditional drums now would not be able to keep up with them just in a volume point of view. So this beast I bring along. So that's really a boom drum. I've had that for a couple of years. Not quite a traditional one, but it's got a very deep, and it's lovely echoes in it as well. I love to sing in the Boweron. Great fun. So basically, these drums. These drums accompanied me very much so through a very difficult time in my life. I was an alcoholic, had a lot of personal problems, a lot of personal issues that I wasn't dealing with, and stuff going on, you know, life and the party catching up with you, that kind of thing, without needing to go into details. So anyway, I stopped. My girls were born in 2007, and in 2008 I stopped drinking alcohol. And this became an absolute key in my giving up alcohol. It just became such a focus. I picked it up, and I hadn't played for many years. I'd also hurt my back, so I was out of work for quite a number of months. I was looking after my baby twin girls, and I was coming off alcohol. So it was all on in our house. It was quite a full-on thing. But this was my go-to, and this is where I started to move away from the traditional aspect of music and the Boweron, and I started to discover the drum and spirituality, and tapping in and recovering, and the healing properties of drumming and what it actually does to you is quite profound and amazing, absolutely amazing. So I mean, for me, it's just clear from the very minute I start to play it, I go straight into that zone. I had a very interesting experience with a woman a couple of years ago who approached me after a concert, and it was a concert where I played particularly a lot of Boweron, just because the vibe or the atmosphere was with it, and I could. It's not every gig that you can kind of go a bit mad on the Boweron, you know. So she approached me, and she was telling me about, she's a therapist, and she was telling me about this women's group that she runs, and that she wanted me to participate in one of her gatherings, and wanted me just to sit in a corner and play the drum, which I did, and it was a very interesting. I mean, I was part of the room, but I wasn't part of the therapy. She was doing her thing with them, and I was over there in the corner, and that was good too. And I just played the drum, sitting there in the corner. And she explained to me afterwards the profound effect that it had on those, on her clients, and on the session, and explained to me that for her to get them to go to that level of preparedness for a certain type of therapy, she needs to work very hard to get them there. There's a lot of work that goes into it, so that means a lot of time goes into it. So that means she limits the time that she actually has. You know what I'm trying to say? And so the drum, 5 minutes, and she said she wins 15 minutes. Interesting. It was very interesting. So I've since given her recordings of my drum playing, and that's how that works. So it really shows me of the therapeutic and healing properties of drum playing. Moving on to 2018, which is the year I gave up cigarettes, and another big self-crisis came about. Nicotine is an insidious fucking addiction, and it really threw me how severe the withdrawal symptoms were, and the power of that little fecker in the head saying trying to it was just, it's an insidious addiction, and it was, I found much more almost much more differently, but as difficult, if not more, than giving up alcohol. Anyway, I digress. So in 2018, I was at I was on tour in Holland, and I met this really nice woman who introduced herself as a Druid priestess, and I was very taken by that. Of course, I was like, "Oh, wow, this is interesting." There's a lot of there's quite a big pagan kind of a scene up in Northern Holland, particularly. Great history up there. That's another story. So we got talking anyway, and she initiates drum making, and I've always wanted to make a drum. So I said, "Great, can I? I'm coming to your town in a couple of more weeks to do another gig. Can we get together? Can we do a drum making ceremony?" And I did, and we did, and it blew me away. It literally knocked me down for six. The power of it, the relationship that you develop with the skin, therefore the animal, because there's a channel opened up. There was an incredible moment where I was doing a bit of sage ceremony with the drum. I hadn't actually tied it up. There's a whole time. Sorry, and let me show you. I'm so passionate about telling this story, which I don't do too often, that I've forgotten to show you my drum. Isn't she beautiful? It's moose skin. How long that tone lasts? Yeah. This, as I say, it was a very powerful experience. So before I started to actually tie these, you've got basically your skin is laid out flat, and you've just pierced the holes in each side so that you can do the actual string work. This is an actual metal hoop here, right? and the actual making of this is it's quite easy. You're not getting instructions, but she's just my friend Leanna, Leanna up in Holland, who was there, but she's not actually doing anything. She's just sitting in the corner, keeping an eye on you. Says, you might want to rethink that, or it's that kind of a gentle guiding without telling you what to do, basically. And it was beautiful. So I was doing a little sage ceremony just before I tied it up, and I literally could feel the breath of the animal of the moose on my face, and yeah, it started the path of where I am right now, standing in front of you and talking to you at the Healing House, and that was where it all started, and it really was quite an incredible experience. So, since I've been taking the course with the spiritual development course in the Healing House, I've been coming up with all sorts of ideas on how to incorporate the drum playing into therapy. So that's what I'll be doing, with specializing particularly in addictions and men care and stress management. There would be my three kind of focus points that I'll be taking into consideration, and using the drum where appropriate, as I feel. But it'll certainly be part of the meditation that I'd like to do, the meditation journeys, the drum journeys, and all of that. So really, that's my story with the drums, folks. I just wanted to tell you my story for a start, and to let you know that I'll be starting in September. I'll be doing online classes and stuff like that. You can get in touch with me. You can get in touch with me through the Healing House, or to me personally, as you feel free, as you feel fit. And yeah,